Hello students, I am VLN Swarupini, lecturer in biochemistry from Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Sciences, which is affiliated to Adikavi Nanaya University, Rajahmundry. Now, I would like to discuss about 3rd BSc Biochemistry, 5th semester, 5th paper, that is Physiology, Clinical Biochemistry and Immunology. So, from this paper, I would like to discuss about bulk elements, that is calcium, iron and magnesium. We will see dietary requirements and importance and their disorders related to these bulk elements. Okay, let's start with the calcium. We all know this calcium is a very essential component to our body regarding bones, teeth. Okay, so our bones are made up of this calcium. Okay, so 99% of calcium in the body is found in bones and teeth. Okay, both bones and teeth are made up of this calcium. Here, calcium is the most common mineral in the human body. Okay, this calcium is the most common mineral in the human body, and around 99% of the calcium in the body is found in bones and teeth, and remaining 1% is present in the soft tissues. Okay, so let's see dietary requirements of this calcium by different stages of humans. Okay, adult men and women require 800 milligrams per day. Okay, whereas women during pregnancy and lactation and also post menopause, means menopause is a condition in women where they doesn't have their menstrual cycle will be stopped, and if a woman's menstrual cycle is permanently stopped, that particular condition is menopause. Okay, so post menopause means before menopause condition in women, they require 1.5 gram per day. So pregnant women, lactating women and women who is in post menopause situation, they should take 1.5 grams per day of calcium. Okay, and children below from 1 to 18 years of age, they should daily take around 0.8 to 1.2 grams per day. They should take calcium around 0.8 to 1.2 grams per day. And also, if you see infants means below 1 year, months babies. Okay, babies who are in months, they require 300 to 500 mg per day. Okay, and if you see sources, obviously milk and milk products are the rich sources of this milk. Apart from milk and milk products, calcium is also rich in beans, leafy vegetables, fish, cabbage and egg yolk. Okay, so these are the calcium sources. Okay, so in our day-to-day life, if we take a small glass of milk and a boiled egg, that will be very helpful for our growth, development and maintenance of our body. Okay, so let's see importance of calcium in our body, that means biochemical functions of calcium in our body. Okay, calcium along with phosphate is required for the It is required for the formation and physical strength of skeletal tissues. Okay, skeletal tissues which are in association with the bones, skeletal bones, tissues which are associated with the skeletal bones. These tissues require for their formation and for their physical strength, calcium along with phosphate should be required. And calcium helps in development of bones and teeth. Both teeth and bones are developed from calcium, and bones which are in a dynamic state serve as reservoir of calcium. Okay, so bones which are in dynamic state, that means bones which are very perfectly developed, they are reserves of calcium. During why these are called as reserves of calcium means, if calcium is not provided properly to our body, what happens is bones will decalcify. That's why we can get calcium from bones itself. Okay, so that's why this dynamic state of bone is a indication of reserve of calcium. And Ca2 plus interacts with troponin C to trigger muscle contraction. Okay, if you have listened the topic muscle contraction in the first unit, you can get a better idea about the action of troponin along with calcium ions to produce muscle contraction. Then what happens? Calcium activates ATPase and increases the interaction between actin and myosin. Okay, and with the help of this interaction, what happens? Muscle contraction will be carried. In this way, calcium helps the muscle contraction in humans. Okay. And this calcium also acts as a blood clotting factor. It will clot the blood. Okay, whenever wound occurred, it will clot the blood, and this calcium ions are called as factor 4. Okay, as blood clotting is achieved by different types of blood clotting factors, this calcium ion is a factor 4 responsible for the blood clotting process. Okay. And calcium ions are necessary for transmission of nerve impulse and also for the influence of the membrane structure and transport of water and several ions across it. Okay, for transmission of nerve impulse and also for the influence of the membrane structure and transport of water and ions across the membranes. Okay. And this calcium is needed for the direct activation of enzymes such as lipase. Pancreatic lipase is activated with the help of calcium. And also ATPase, succinate dehydrogenase, these require calcium for their activation. Okay. And also certain hormones exert their action through the mediation of calcium. Okay, this calcium will show activity of CAMP. Okay, and calcium is regarded as secondary messenger for such hormonal action like epinephrine in liver, glycogenolysis. This particular calcium will act as secondary messenger for the epinephrine. Okay, and calcium serves as a third messenger for some hormones like antidiuretic hormone, which acts along with CAMP, and then calcium ions. Okay, and release of certain hormones like insulin, parathyroid hormone and calcitonin also require this calcium ion. These endocrine glands require calcium ion to release hormones like insulin, parathyroid hormone, and calcitonin. Okay, and calcium ions regulate microfilaments and microtubule mediated processes such as endocytosis, exocytosis, and cell motility. Okay, endocytosis, exocytosis, and cell motility is regulated by this calcium. Okay, and calcium is believed to involve in the cell to cell interaction and adhesion of cells in a tissue. Cell to cell interactions are very important for the different kinds of functions in our body, and these cell to cell interactions require calcium, and also for the adhesion of cells to tissues also this calcium is required. And calcium ions acts on myocardium and prolongs systole movement. Systole action is prolonged by acting of this calcium ions on myocardium. Okay, now let's see disorders of this calcium. So first one is hypercalcemia. Hypercalcemia. This calcium disorders, in calcium disorders hypocalcemia is very important, and elevation in serum calcium level is hypercalcemia. Okay, it's nothing but increased calcium levels in the serum is hypercalcemia. And if you see normal calcium level in serum is 9 to 11 mg per dl. Okay, and hypercalcemia is associated with hyperparathyroidism. Okay, by increased activity of parathyroid gland, parathyroid hormone will be increased, produced at high concentration, leading to hyperparathyroidism, and this leads to hypercalcemia. Okay, and elevation in the urinary excretion of calcium and phosphorus also leads to this hypercalcemia, and often results in the formation of urinary calculi is also observed in these patients. That means calcium will be deposited in these patients along with phosphorus. Okay, so these will form stone like structures in the hypercalcemia patients. Okay, and the symptoms of hypercalcemia include muscle weakness, loss of appetite, constipation, nausea, increased myocardial contractility, and susceptible to fractures. Okay, they'll have muscle weakness, they doesn't have any hunger, constipation, there will be no proper bowel movement, and also nausea. That means it's a uncomfortable and vomiting like sensation, and increased myocardial contractility, and these patients are very susceptible to fractures, easily they get fractures. Okay, and next one is hypocalcemia. It is characterized by fall in the serum calcium below 7 mg per dl, causing tetany. Okay, and the symptoms of tetany include neuromuscular irritability. Irritability is common in these patients, and spasms and convulsions are also common in these patients. And hypocalcemia is mostly due to hypoparathyroidism, whereas this hypercalcemia is related to hyperparathyroidism. This hypocalcemia is related to hypoparathyroidism. Okay, this may have often this happen after an accidental surgical removal of parathyroid gland due to autoimmune diseases. Okay, if any patient got surgical removal of this parathyroid gland, or if they got any autoimmune disease, this hypocalcemia is most commonly seen. And the next one is rickets. This rickets is a disorder of defective calcification of bones. Rickets is a disorder of defective calcification of bones. This may be due to a low levels of vitamin D in the body, or due to dietary deficiency of calcium and phosphorus, or sometimes both. So due to lower deficiency of vitamin D also this rickets will be produced, and sometimes of low levels of potassium is also seen. Okay, low levels of phosphorus is also lead to rickets. Okay, next one is osteoporosis. This osteoporosis is the characteristic by demineralization of bones resulting in the progressive loss of bone mass. Okay, if a person is not having calcium in his diet, then what happens is demineralization will be occur to the bones, and calcium will be received by the body in the form of demineralized calcium. Okay, and what will happen? Bone mass will be reduced, and bone strength will be decreased. The elderly people are at high risk for osteoporosis, and more predominantly occurs in post-menopausal women. Okay, and osteoporosis results in frequent bone fractures. Okay, so this osteoporosis is most commonly seen in elder people and post-menopausal women, and easy break of bones, that is bone fractures, is the commonly seen in the osteoporosis patients. Okay, and the next one is iron. If you see about iron, the total content of iron in an adult body is 3 to 5 grams. About 70% of this occurs in the erythrocytes, that means red blood cells of blood. Okay, so at least 5% of body iron is present in myoglobin of muscle. Okay, so myoglobin is also a kind of hemoglobin, similar to hemoglobin, and this will also help in the transportation of oxygen. Okay, it will carry the oxygen to the cell. Okay, for cell respiration, this myoglobin will transfer the oxygen molecules. Okay, so here in an adult body there will be 3 to 5 grams. Of iron, and of that 3 to 5 grams of iron, 70% is present in the erythrocytes, that means red blood cells, in the form of central metal atom to the hemoglobin is iron, and 5% is in the form of myoglobin. As this myoglobin also have central metal atom iron. Okay, both hemoglobin and myoglobin has iron as central metal atom, and 70% iron is in erythrocyte form, and 5% iron is in myoglobin form. Okay, and heme is the most predominant iron containing substance. Okay, heme is the most dominant iron containing substance. This is a color pigment of the red blood cells. Okay, and it is constituent of several proteins or enzymes. Okay, this heme is not only present in red blood cells, this is also present in different types of proteins and enzymes, what we call them as hemoproteins, like hemoglobin, myoglobin, cytochromes, xanthine oxidase, catalase, tryptophan, pyrrolase, peroxidase. So these are the heme proteins which contain this iron as central metal atom in the heme. Okay, and certain other proteins contain non-heme iron like transferrin, ferritin, hemosiderin. Okay, so these are not related to heme, but they contain iron. Okay, so dietary requirements of iron. Adult man require 10 grams per day, menstruating women require 18 mg per day, and pregnant and lactating women require 40 mg per day. Coming to iron food sources, organ meats like liver, heart, kidneys are rich sources of iron. Okay, so if you see meat, in that meat mostly liver, heart, kidneys are rich of this iron, and leafy vegetables, pulses, cereals, fish, apples, dry fruits and molasses are also good source of iron. And also milk, wheat, polished rice also contain this iron. Okay, so now let's see biochemical functions of this iron. Iron mainly exerts its functions through the compounds in which it is present. Okay, if you take hemoglobin and myoglobin, these are required for the transportation of O2 and CO2 through our blood. Okay, and if you take cytochromes and certain non-heme proteins, these are necessary for electron transport chain and oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, and if you take peroxidase, this is a lysosomal enzyme, and it is required for phagocytosis process by which it will kill bacteria along with neutrophils. Okay, so this particular iron doesn't show any individual function. It will show activity by the components in which it is present. Hemoglobin and myoglobin are responsible for the transportation of O2 and CO2. Cytochromes are helpful in the electron transport chain and oxidative phosphorylation. And here peroxidase will helpful in the phagocytosis process, and iron is associated with effective immunocompetence of the body. So if you see this diagram, iron cycle, this is a iron cycle. Body stores around 1000 mg of iron, of which 5 mg per day is given to plasma transferrin, and 5 mg per day from myoglobin and other components is given to plasma transferrin. Okay, and from this iron will be lost per 1 to 2 mg per day, and by food absorption 1 to 2 mg per day is intaken through food. And this plasma transferrin is utilized for synthesis. Okay, and utilized quantity is 20 mg per day is utilized, and this synthesis include erythrocyte hemoglobin, and these requires 2500 mg of iron, and it will again release by degradation, and again plasma transferrin will be produced. So this is a overview of iron metabolism. Okay. And now let's see disorders of this iron. Disorders of mostly disorders of iron are anemias. Okay, iron deficiency anemia, this is the most prevalent nutritional disorder worldwide. Okay, including the well developed countries, this anemias, iron deficiency anemias are common. Okay, anemia is nothing but lack of proper iron. Lack of proper iron, blood percentage will be very less in those patients. Okay, several factors may contribute to iron deficiency anemia, and they include like inadequate intake, and if you see these factors responsible for iron deficiency anemia: inadequate intake or defective absorption of iron. That means improper intake of iron in the diet. Okay, and chronic blood loss. Okay, in sometimes due to accidents or such conditions, there will be chronic blood loss. In such patients also iron deficiency anemia is common. And repeated pregnancies. Okay, if any woman is having repeated pregnancies, then also she is prone to iron deficiency anemia. And also hookworm infections. Hookworm infections also leads to this particular iron deficiency anemia. Okay, and such vegetarians are more prone for iron deficiency anemia. That means vegetarians who doesn't feed on meat, they are also prone to this anemias. Okay, and this is due to presence of inhibitors of iron absorption in the vegetarian foods, besides the relatively low content of iron. Okay, iron deficiency anemia mostly occurs in growing children, adolescent girls, pregnant and lactating women. So by this what we can understand, in India most commonly women are prone to this iron deficiency anemia. Okay, so in not only in India, throughout the world, women are prone to this iron deficiency anemia. Okay, and it is characterized by microcytic hypochromic anemia with reduced blood hemoglobin levels. Okay, so this particular iron deficiency anemia will have reduced blood hemoglobin levels below below 12 grams per dalton. Okay, and other manifestations include apathy, dull and inactive, sluggish metabolic activities, and retarded growth and loss of appetite. These are the symptoms that we commonly see in the iron deficiency anemia. Okay, and the next one is hemosiderosis. This is also a disorder related to iron. This is a less common disorder and is due to excessive iron in the body. Okay, this is Nothing but the excess of iron presence in the body leads to hemosiderosis. Okay, and it is commonly observed in subjects receiving repeated blood transfusions over the year. Okay, so commonly patients of hemolytic anemia and hemophilia, they'll receive this blood transfusions very frequently. So such kind of patients may have this hemosiderosis very rarely. Okay, iron is a one-way compound. Once it enters the body, it cannot escape even through any excretory way. Okay, excessive iron is deposited as ferritin and hemosiderin in the body itself. Okay, and the next one is hemochromatosis. This is a rare disease in which iron is directly deposited in the tissues. Okay, in hemochromatosis, this is the condition in which iron is deposited directly in the tissues like liver, spleen, pancreas and skin. Okay, hemosiderosis is sometimes accompanied by hemochromatosis. Okay, bronzed pigmentation of the skin is commonly a symptom, and cirrhosis of liver, pancreatic fibrosis are the manifestations or symptoms of this disorder. And the next one is magnesium. And adult bodies contain about 20 grams of magnesium, of which 70% is found in bones in combination with calcium and phosphorus. Okay, and the remaining 30% occurs in the soft tissues and body fluids. Okay, 20 grams of magnesium is present in the body, of which 70% is in the bones and 30% is in the soft tissues. And if you see dietary requirements, adult men should take 350 mg per day, adult women should take 300 mg per day. Okay, and coming to sources, cereals, nuts, beans, vegetables like cabbage, cauliflower, meat, milk and fruits are the best sources for this magnesium. If you see serum magnesium, normal serum concentration of magnesium is 2 to 3 mg per daltons, and it is present in ionized form. 60% of the magnesium in serum is ionized form, and remaining 10% is in combination with other ions, and 30% is bound to the proteins. Okay, in the form of proteins. Now let's see biochemical functions of magnesium. Biochemical functions of magnesium. Magnesium is required for the formation of bones and teeth. Along with calcium, this magnesium is also required for the bones and teeth formation. Okay, and here Mg2 plus serves as a cofactor for several enzymes requiring ATP. Example, hexokinase, glucokinase, phosphofructokinase, adenylate cyclase. So these are the few enzymes which require magnesium for their activity. Okay, it serves as cofactor for these enzymes, and magnesium is necessary for proper neuromuscular function. Okay, it is required for neuromuscular function, and low Mg2 plus levels lead to neuromuscular irritability. Low levels of Mg2 plus leads to neuromuscular irritability. Coming to disorders, magnesium deficiency causes neuromuscular irritation, weakness and convulsions, and alcoholism and malnutrition and cirrhosis of liver lead to magnesium deficiency. That means people who are alcoholic and who are undergoing malnutrition and who are having liver cirrhosis, they will show magnesium deficiencies, and low levels of magnesium may be observed in uremia, rickets, and abnormal pregnancy. Okay, so these are the disorders related to magnesium. Okay, so what we have discussed in this class, we discussed about iron, calcium and magnesium. And iron, if you see about calcium, it is important for bone and teeth development, also for responsible for the soft tissue development. Okay, and if you see the dietary requirement of calcium, adult men and women should take 800 mg per day. Women during pregnancy, lactation, post menopause 1.5 gram per day. 1 to 18 years of age children should take 0.8 to 1.2 gram per day. Infants 300 to 500 mg per day. Sources are like milk products, beans, leafy vegetables, fish, cabbage and egg yolk. Coming to functions, helps in bone and teeth formation, and also help in the muscle contraction, and also act as blood clotting factor, and also helpful in the transmission of nerve impulse, and acts helpful in the membrane structure and transportation of ions and water with the help of calcium ions, and helpful in the activation of enzymes like lipase, ATPase and succinate dehydrogenase, and calcium is also helpful in the helpful as a secondary messenger. Okay, and it will act as third messenger for hormones like antidiuretic hormone and CAMP, like that. Okay, and the release of certain hormones require calcium by the endocrine glands like insulin, parathyroid hormone, calcitonin. Release is these hormones release is only occurred by the presence of calcium ions by the respective endocrine glands. Okay, and helpful in the endocytosis, exocytosis and cell motility, and helpful in the cell to cell interactions and adhesion of cell to the tissues. Also helpful in the myocardium for prolonged systole movement. Okay, coming to disorders, in increased levels of calcium in serum is hypercalcemia, and lower level of calcium is hypocalcemia, and rickets, which is related to vitamin D also. Okay, by lack of vitamin D and calcium, this rickets will be observed. And osteoporosis, this is the condition by which demineralization of calcium is seen, and bone mass will be decreased, and fracture of bones is most commonly seen in these patients. Coming to iron, this is responsible for the blood development. Okay, and adult man should take 10 grams per day, menstruating woman should take 18 mg per day, and pregnant and lactating women should take 40 mg per day. Sources are like meat organs and leafy vegetables, pulses, cereals, fish, apples, dry fruits, molasses, and also milk, wheat and polished rice also good sources. Okay, and coming to biochemical functions of iron, this iron doesn't show individual activity, but the components which contain this iron will show different biological functions in our body. Hemoglobin and myoglobin, which contain iron as central metal atom, they are helpful in the transportation of oxygen and CO2. And the cytochromes, these are helpful in the ETC, electron transport chain, and oxidative phosphorylation. And peroxidase, which is a lysosomal enzyme, helps in the phagocytosis process, and this iron also associated with effective immunocompetence of the body. Coming to disorders, anemia is a major deficiency, and hemosiderosis. Okay, this is the presence of excessive iron in the body, and also hemochromatosis. Okay, in this iron will be deposited in the tissues. Okay, and the last one is magnesium, and this is also responsible for the bones development. Okay, along with calcium, this will help in the bone development. And if you see about the dietary requirement, adult man should take 350 mg per day, and adult woman should take 300 mg per day. Okay, sources are like cereals, nuts, beans, vegetables, meat, milk and fruits. Biochemical functions, formation of bones and teeth. This acts as cofactor for some enzyme activity, and this magnesium is required for proper neuromuscular function, and disorders will be neuromuscular irritation is caused by this magnesium deficiency, and weakness and convulsions are also common in magnesium deficiency. And also low levels of magnesium are seen in few disorders like viremia, rickets and abnormal pregnancy. Okay, and also alcoholism, malnutrition and liver cirrhosis also leads to magnesium deficiency. This is all about calcium, iron and magnesium. If you have any doubt, please contact me. Listen to this class for please listen to the class for 1 to 2 times, and please note the important points. Keep the material provided for you with you while listening to the class. Have a happy learning. Always stay safe. Thank you, students.